The guy I'm dating is learning ASL for my brother, and I think it's cute and endearing, but all my friends think it's creepy and a sign that he's up to no good. Posted by you/throw_ra_tall giraffe. I, 21F, met John, 22M, in a college class last semester. He's an overall great guy, very respectful and kind. He also has a great sense of humor, and we share many similar interests. We've been friends since then, and we started dating in July. He's the first person I've ever dated in my life. Last September, he met my family when I visited home for my brother's birthday. My brother, Trev, 19M, has been deaf since birth, so my whole family communicates with him through sign language, Trev's lip reading, though we sign reflexively, or text. During our small celebration at home, it was clear my parents liked John. He was charming, funny, and respectful. He even tried to connect with Trev by typing some of his jokes for Trev to read, although Trev can lip read. Whenever John told a story, either I or my parents signed for Trev. My parents said they're happy I found such a sweet and caring guy in John. Naturally, I was glad to hear this. Before we went back, John and Trev had a quick Call of Duty gaming session. For someone with Trev's condition, he's a really talkative guy. He's very expressive and loves to communicate, especially when gaming. Of course, he couldn't outright trash talk, but he does the closest thing with his hands. So there we were in Trev's room, with John and Trev playing while I translated for them. I was laughing way too hard because Trev was trying his best to trash talk John, saying he was weak and throwing out all these expletives, while I tried my best to tone it down for John. Meanwhile, I was also translating John's instructions and strategies for Trev. Since this was John's first time meeting my family, he was saying things like "good job," and "we can do better next time," though I know deep down he probably wanted to trash talk Trev back. The two of them got along well and have had some online gaming sessions since then. 2 weeks ago, John visited home with me again for my mom's birthday. He surprised everyone, including me, by communicating with Trev in ASL. John was still at the alphabet, basic words, and some rehearsed phrases, but we were all delighted that he had made the effort. Trev's face lit up, and I'd never seen him happier having a new long-term friend with fewer communication barriers. Apparently, John had been watching YouTube tutorials and using other online learning platforms to learn ASL. The two of them had another gaming session, and this time, John and Trev could communicate more directly. It was still a bit slow, and I had to do some translating. Imagine trying to baby talk to a grown man or speaking to a caveman with choppy sentences, but I could tell Trev was having a great time. They also got more comfortable with each other, engaging in more explicit trash talking, which I didn't tone down this time. John has been religiously learning ASL since then, and he's making great progress. I was so happy about this that I told my close friend group from high school. However, most of my friends, especially my closest guy friend, told me what John is doing is a red flag because it could be a form of obsession or emotional manipulation. My guy friend also said it was creepy that John is becoming too attached to my family when we've only been dating for about 5 months. He even suggested that John might only be doing it to get laid or something. I know there's some validity to what my friends said, but I'm not convinced. John has been wonderful and sincere the entire time. I know it's naive to say this because he's my first relationship, but I can see this becoming long-term. Yes, we haven't hooked up yet because I told him I wasn't ready, and he's never pressured me. Still, is John's behavior something I should be concerned about? Again, I don't have any experience with dating or relationships, so I don't know if this is truly concerning. My friends are pushing me to break up with John, but I'm not sure. How should I proceed? Update 1 month later. Sorry, this is going to be a long one. This will be an update to my original post, but I'll also try to address some of the frequently asked questions. First off, I want to thank everyone who shared their insights on my original post. As I mentioned, I'm very new to relationships, so reading perspectives outside of my inner circle was very eye-opening. To begin, many Redditors said that my high school friends are conniving, untrustworthy, and ableist people who never bothered to learn ASL despite knowing me for a long time. I take accountability for this. I'm not saying they're blameless, but it's not entirely their fault. For some context, our family moved to the area during my senior year of high school because of my dad's job. The friend group, 2 guys and 2 girls before I joined, was already tight-knit when I came in. They took me in after we were grouped together for a school project, and they've been with me ever since. We've been friends for about 4 years now. They're not exactly saints, but they helped me survive my senior year in one piece. They're fun to hang out with, and they provided the support I needed when I was struggling. Also, during that time, my brother was having an especially hard time adjusting because of his disability, so my friends never really saw much of Trev. To be clear, I was never ashamed of Trev. It's just that whenever my friends came over, he either locked himself in his room or was in a different area with his tutor and never really interacted with us. Whenever he did come out, he was really shy and awkward, so my friends mostly just got glimpses of him. By the time Trev became more comfortable in our area and found his own circle, my friends and I had already graduated from high school and didn't hang out regularly anymore. They're friendly and polite with Trev, but, then again, they never interacted enough for them to feel the need to learn ASL for him. So, on to what happened. Last week, my friend group had our year-end party, and I decided to bring John along to meet the rest of my friends. My other friend in the group also brought his girlfriend, so this wasn't really weird. Others have done so in the past as well. I mentioned in the comments that John had only met my closest guy friend, I'll call him Mike, 21M, so I wanted the rest of them to form their own opinions of John after meeting him. Initially, there was some tension and awkwardness from my friend group toward John. They were a bit cold and threw some harsh remarks at him. Eventually, though, they all warmed up to him and were pleasantly surprised by his personality. We all got along well and even had fun playing games. However, I could still sense awkward tension from Mike toward John and the rest of the group. He made meaner jokes than usual and seemed to isolate himself from the activities. The day after the party, I had lunch with my closest girlfriend, Sophie, 21F, to clear the air because I could tell they also sensed something was off. A lot of Redditors speculated that Mike had a crush on me and was jealous of my relationship with John. Turns out, you were all 10,000% correct, but it's a lot more complicated than that. Apparently, Mike has had a crush on me since our senior year of high school. However, he was known in school as a notorious ladies' man and had a new girl with him almost every month. This behavior got exponentially worse during college. He had different hookups almost every night and even had a pregnancy scare with a girl last year. I knew about all of this because he bragged about sleeping around every time we met up. What I didn't know was that the entire time, Mike had been making up fake stories about me and him. Sophie told me that, apparently, Mike had claimed we had a pact that if we were still single at 30, we'd marry each other. He also told our friend group that we hooked up after graduation and that he took my first time then, so he's my special person, whatever that means. He further claimed we'd been secretly hooking up consistently throughout college. For context, Mike and I attend different universities about 30 minutes apart. Lastly, Mike told them that I said I was in love with him. He asked our friends not to tell me anything so I wouldn't get embarrassed or upset, as I supposedly have an image of being somewhat of a prude. Mike also told our friend group that when he met John, he thought John was a total jerk who was manipulating me and taking advantage of my innocence and naivete. He claimed John was forcing himself into my family and driving a wedge between me and my friends. Mike also said that after he had lunch with John and me, he tried to convince me to stay away from John because he wasn't a good influence on me, but John had effectively brainwashed me. This explains why my friend group was already so antagonistic toward John when I told them about him. For the record, none of what Mike said was true. There was no pact, we never hooked up, and I have never been in love with him. After that, Sophie and I asked the rest of our friend group, except Mike, to jump on a FaceTime call with us. They all shared different versions of what Mike told them. There were a lot more, but I disputed everything. We were all collectively shocked by what we learned that day. They apologized for their behavior toward me and John, and I told them I understood, given all the lies fed to them by Mike. Then, everyone agreed to kick Mike out of the friend group. Sophie suggested we could have an intervention for Mike first, but I said I didn't want anything to do with him anymore. The rest of the group agreed, so we're essentially cutting him off. Sophie said she would still talk to him just to inform him of everything that happened, but I really just wanted to distance myself from him. Now, it's been a week of being Mike-free. Sophie said that when she and another guy friend talked to Mike, he became extremely defensive, confrontational, and aggressive. He wasn't physically violent, but he called them names, attacked their characters, and made such awful statements about everyone in our friend group that I won't include here. It looks like cutting him off completely was the right call. After reading everyone's comments on my previous post, there were a lot. I reflected on my relationship with John and my friends. I then talked to my parents for advice since they have the best relationship I know of. They told me that from what they saw of John when he visited our home and how I spoke of him, it seems like he is a genuinely nice person with pure intentions. It also helps that John and I were friends for months before we started dating, so I already knew his character even when there was less pretense of him trying to impress me. He's already impressive on his own though, lol. I then told John about everything that happened and apologized, fully expecting him to be mad at me for doubting him and his intentions. Instead, he said he understood because, of course, it was only natural for me to trust my friends and expect them to have my best interests at heart. He then asked me if there was any point in our relationship when I felt uncomfortable or uneasy around him, and I categorically said no. I told him that he's my safe space and that he has nothing to worry about. He then reassured me that his intentions with me are genuine, and he even said that he sees a future with me, which I reciprocated. Also, Jana and Trev's friendship is still going strong. Trev participated in one of John's D&D sessions with his friends, and John and I both acted as translators. We were delighted to see that most of John's friends already know the ASL alphabet. Apparently, they had even included it in the lore of their D&D campaign. Additionally, Trev has been asking John for tips on working out and getting fit lately since they have the same body type, but John is more toned. One of his brothers is a fitness instructor. I also met John's family for the first time at their annual get-together. It was super fun. There were games and contests. I wasn't prepared for it, but apparently, since their mom is a theater performer and their dad is a music producer, it's a family tradition to have a talent showcase. They gave me a pass this time, but they told me I should prepare something impressive for next year, lol. So, that's it for this update. My relationship with John is stronger than ever, and I finally know who my true friends are. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for your time. Happy New Year to us all. Commenter. I believe the proper term for kicking Mike out of your friend group is called a mic drop.